All right. What's up, y'all? Was trying to be fancy here. My apologies for the being late. Hope everybody's doing good, having a good day today. Happy Tuesday. We're going to jump right in. I'm also going to go live on TikTok. Thanks for those who reached out, who had questions. I got one today, so thank you for the one question. But I think what's really cool is I've been getting some cross feedback in another platform. That's been really helpful to navigate what questions to ask or what questions to kind of answer in our calls. So I'm going to kind of cover both sides of this to sort of help this process and help you guys in the best way that I can possible. So I'm going to pull up the first question I have, but give me 1 second. Cool. All right, y'all. So, Real Talk Live every Tuesday in my current parent Facebook group, the 360 Athlete. I go live and I ask questions or answer questions that people send me. And since I've been having some good dialogue here and TikTok and Facebook as well, I'm kind of double dutying and going live on both. So, I do have one question that came to me, and then I want to address the questions about the camps in a little bit more detail. So, those of you who are here, thanks for joining. So, the question I got from a parent today was when it comes to travel ball games and girls who are wanting to be seen, if they aren't getting the playing time while a college coach's of choice is there, what could be another approach to take on with that particular college besides going to their camps? So I really like that question. And as you know, I'm going to be as frank as possible in my answers and as real as possible. That's why it's called Real Talk with Coach Carter. So the first and foremost, here's what I'm going to say. If you are on a team where the coach is not helping you showcase your talent, I would question the team. And I actually know this team, so I know this coach. They're really good friends of mine. But I also think like if what we're doing is trying to win in these tournaments or not get blown out, we have the wrong intentions for why we are doing this work. And I really think that's where the issue right now is key, is that if you have athletes on your team and you're at a showcase event and you're not switching your athletes in and out to get them showcased, that's really important. I will also say that if you as a parent or you as an athlete are not communicating with that coach, or that coach has no idea that you are interested in the schools you're interested in, that's also kind of on you as well. So I think it's a two-way street. You need to communicate which coaches you've been communicating with, and also like these coaches might be coming to watch me play. So kind of if they come, like they probably want to see me play. The other side of that is if they know that information and they still don't put you in when those coaches come, I would just reevaluate the team that you're on. So, hate to say that, but I think that's a really important concept that we have to understand. So, that would be my first thing. The second thing I would say also is that if you're solely depending on your athlete to be seen at this particular showcase, then that also lies the issue a little bit. I think you're going to have to find many of ways in order to be noticed and seen by coaches. And in fact, I was actually having a conversation with one of my athletes today, and we were talking about, all of the touch points from social media to emails to camps, all the things, and how many times I have them email coaches. And why I have them do that is because, just like if you guys, any of you are in sales or like even in social media, there is this rule. It's called the 7 touch point rule. And if you are relying solely on one time for an athlete or for a coach to see you, more times than not, they're not interested or they're not recruiting you. You're not necessarily on their recruiting radar. Now, you want to get on their radar, but there needs to be multiple attempts to this particular process. So I would say your athlete definitely needs to be finding more ways to get in front of that coach. And that's why we go to camps, because camps allows them to be in their space specifically in order to get the recognition that they need to get. but there is technically like a 7 touch point rule. Like, how many times can I get this coach to see me and notice me and recognize me in my skill? Okay. Now, the last part of this is, I think, in general, why we are so pressured in one moment of our life when it comes to sports and like playing with college coach and when college coaches are watching. It's more because we don't have a plan. And I think that's the greatest thing that we need to spend more time working through is, what is your plan when you are trying to be in front of these coaches? Like, do you actually know if, like, have I made this, take the steps in order to let this coach get to know me better? So I think there needs to be a better plan leading up to this moment in order to allow for not one opportunity to feel like it's so heavy, or to feel like it's so strenuous that like I have to do this, I have to do good, I have to be the best I can be. If I have that mentality in that one time, that's more likely because we're not prepared. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've had, and I've worked with a lot of athletes to understand, that we have to be more prepared when the situations come up. But how do I create more of those situations? Which brings me to part two, which is camps. So I'm getting a lot of questions again on TikTok. So I kind of got TikTok here and I got Facebook here, but I got a lot of questions on TikTok lately about camps and which one should we go to and how do we know which ones are money grabs and which ones are not. And I'm going to give you sort of a perspective of sort of a timeline so you have an idea. And if your daughter is not within this timeline, don't freak out. Just know that like I'm going to give you a timeline, and then I'm going to talk to you about how you adjust the timeline, if that makes sense. Okay. So let's start with 7th and 8th grade. So 7th grade, I believe, is the best time for your athlete to be making a decision around, can I see myself playing this sport at a higher level? Also, what would it take for me to play my best of this sport at this particular level? So that's where we have to start. So 7th grade is why I say 7th grade is a good time to start, is because we want to start to make those decisions and we want to start to create those habits and those skills that go along with that decision that we're making. Part two of this now is, let's get to 8th grade. So in 8th grade, what we want to do is, now we want to sort of visit some of those local schools. Hopefully there are some Division I schools in your area or within driving distance, and then a couple of D2 schools, maybe a few NAIA schools. But in this space, especially the D1 space, what you want to do there is you want to get an evaluation and really have an understanding of like, man, where is my athlete compared to the other athletes within her age group, right? And even within the athletes that are coming or going to that particular camp, where are they falling within that space? So we want to understand that first. And so going to camps in 8th grade that are local, that are less cost, because I could probably stay in a hotel or drive back home. It helps you, or stay at home, really. It helps you sort of navigate a baseline of where is my athlete and then where should they be targeting the schools moving forward. Okay. Now, after we sort of have this information, it's important to now move on to, okay, now let me start to create my top 50 school list based on this information that I've received. So in 9th grade, in 8th grade, beginning of 9th grade, I'm now creating my top 50 list. So within my top 50 list, what I'm talking through is, what are the schools that are like really, really high that I want to go to? I have a breakdown of this, but really, really high that I want to go to. What are some of the more reachable schools? Like, they're not the highest of highest, but I do have to make sure I do a little bit of extra work to get there. What are my sort of schools that are within reach currently where I'm at or where I think I could play at? And then sort of what are my safety schools, right? And so when you have this list based off of that, now you can start to create an idea of which camps to go to, which places to be, what coaches to find in showcases that'll help me through this process. So this is why we create that list. So in 9th grade, at the end of 8th grade, beginning of 9th grade, we're creating that list. And now we're going to hammer in this list a little bit more than we usually would. So when people are saying like, oh, like our camp's money grabs, as I said in TikTok and a couple of videos I've shared, is that every camp is about making money. If you know the climate of softball, we're not a revenue generating sport in most cases. And so what we have to do is find opportunities to make money and also pay our coaches. So a lot of coaches are volunteers. I'll give you an example. I was at the University of Washington and I was a volunteer coach at that particular place. I wasn't on their main payroll, but I was making $4,000 a month. And so, how did I make that? Partly because of the camps that were waiting or that were joining um, this sort of process, right? So, this is where it's important to understand that the camps help solidify the additional help that we need, the other equipment that we need, help with travel, especially now with some of the bigger schools that are traveling across the country now that they've changed conferences. Camps help that. So, I want to ease your mind when realizing that camps are to make money, right? Now, there are some schools that are obnoxiously making money. But again, if you have a volunteer assistant at a Power Five school and you want to pay them a salary that they can live off of, now it makes sense, right? $400 per player, 100 players in the camp. Great. That's going to help pay for that particular coach. You see how that works? Plus a few other things. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the best route, but for you to understand, is that even in your 50 list? And is that in your reachable of your top 50 list? Right now, if there's 5 schools that are your reachable, like your really, really high list, if there's 5 schools, it's worth putting the money into it to determine, is that the right fit for me? And if it's not the right fit for me, then what adjustments am I making moving forward? Right. So that's sort of how this process works. Now, some of you that come to me are they're in a little bit more of they're older, so they have older athletes. And so the question then becomes, what do I need to be doing there? So for me, this is where I feel like the showcase camps are really good, because again, we get an opportunity to be in front of multiple coaches at one time. So if I have not yet started the process, or I'm unsure of where I actually fit in, I don't know where I'm recruitable at, where I'm not recruitable at, then I have to give myself an opportunity to figure that part out. And so showcases will really help with that because it allows you to be in front of multiple schools at one time, right? Now, if they're charging you $300 per session, I want you to think about it this way. If you took the time to go to 10 of those schools, there's 10 coaches there, and you took the opportunity to go to 10 of those schools individually, you're going to be paying about $1,500 plus to go to each of those camps. Now, if you were able now instead to go to a showcase where 10 schools are, you see how that makes sense to, like, maybe it is worth it. Even if it's $300, it sounds like a lot. But if it's the opportunity to be in front of a bunch of coaches, take the opportunity. Does that make sense to y'all? So that's sort of the process that I want you to think about when this comes to play. So I got a question over here. How do you go about asking your club coach to reach out to college coach? Yeah. So if your club team is not currently asking you for that inside information of what schools you're looking at, then it's definitely something you need to do to reach out to them. So again, what I would do is when you have that top 50 list, go ahead and share with your coach. Ask them, can you have a meeting with them? Sit down, have a conversation with them. And I think it's also good to do this because now your coach can give you a non-biased perspective on where they think your athlete is and if these schools are on the right track or if maybe I'm shooting a little too high or a little too low. So having the conversation with coaches helps that. Now, of course, there are some coaches that are haters, and I don't know why you're playing that team to begin with. So that's another story for another day. But if you are on a team and your coaches want to see you succeed, because they do, because it does help them as well in their reputation when they send athletes to schools that are able to perform at their best, right? So that's a good thing that coaches want to have. So they're going to do whatever they can to ensure that they do that. So I would say that's a really important sort of process in this. And I need to double check some things. I think I want to make sure that my other live is still on. Don't know that it is. Yes, it's still on. Perfect. So that would be another thing to consider in this process. And to make sure I don't have any questions over here. I think we're doing good. Let's see. All right, so let's see. Nope, I think we're good. So good. So those are the questions that I had for today. I wanted to make sure that I came on and answered a few questions and going a little bit more into detail around the camps and when they should start this process, why they should start when they start. And if they're later in the game, just remember that we're trying to get a gauge on where your athlete is compared to everybody else in the country nationally, not specifically in your town or your area. Okay, so we have to understand that in this process as well, that she might be the best player in your town, but that's not the athlete we're looking for. We're looking for the best players in the country, right? What player is going to help elevate my team to the highest level? And so that's what I'm looking for. And more times than not, that's going to be you having to assess yourself amongst other athletes in the world. So, with that, I think we are going to wrap up today. I will do this. I do this every Tuesday currently in my Facebook group, but I'll probably be shifting to other places here next few weeks if I don't continue to get any questions, which is fine. But thank y'all for rocking with me so far, and I appreciate all of you and all of your questions and all the things that you bring to the table here. And yeah, I don't see, want to make sure I'm not missing anyone's questions before we wrap up. But I think we're good. Let's see. Make sure that my other live is still on. Don't know what it is. Yes, it's still on. Perfect. So that would be another thing. All right, y'all.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Have a great evening. We will talk soon. Send me your questions. Peace.